This time we're taking a look at three model kits this time. We're taking a look at the Kemonopla KHAO MANEE, Japanese Wolf, and the Human Part Set A. So I'm actually really happy that these things exist because one, we don't have too many like animal-based model kits, and two, these things are actually pretty unique and interesting. So it comes with four faces, two like completely animal faces, and then two more human-like faces with movable eyes, a bunch of like giant paws and normal sized hands, and then a bunch of runners where everything's all white. And that actually made it kind of confusing to build because every piece was the same color except for like one runner, which was the paws for the feet, and that was like a whole mess. And it's like, oh man, I'm kind of losing track where everything is. But luckily it's not that hard to put together, which is applicable to all three of them. Like the manual is pretty thin and it's foldable, so like you just kind of build the torso and the head, so it's not too difficult. The arms are actually well placed like in the manual, so they're like separated on both sides, left and right, so it makes it really easy for you to follow along. Same with the legs and everything, and swapping out the torso joints and everything. I thought that overall the build was really easy, except for like the little ears, like the hair puff or fur puff or whatever that's on their ears was really fucking difficult for some reason. And then building these leg parts, honestly really easy. It just kind of took a lot of pressure to squeeze in like the joints that connect to everything. And then the alternative legs, like the more human-like legs, those were easy. Connecting the pegs, super easy. Like I don't know if I've ever had like an easier time building a kit than I did with these, than I did like compared to maybe like a Megami device or something else. Like Megami device is kind of easy, but you know, there's still like certain steps that are a little annoying. And Good Smile also has some annoying stuff, but here's the Japanese Wolf. The build process is essentially exactly the same. It's just that the difference is that she has completely different colors. So she's like brown with like a grayish beige sort of color. The hair is modeled differently, so it's not like a one-to-one. The eyes are different, so there's like a few steps that are like different from the cat, but it's pretty much the same. So I don't really know what else to say at the moment. It's just like, you know, the different runners. There's black paws. She has like these beige and brown pieces. I do like how small the boxes are because they don't come with a whole lot of stuff and they're relatively inexpensive. So it's kind of like smaller than like a master grade box. So one, easy to make. Two, doesn't come with too much stuff. And three, you can kind of just finish it in a couple of hours. So the build process is actually pretty quick and easy. So I was able to actually do, I think, 2 in a row at one time, which usually I don't have the time for. I can only do like one kit. And then for the human parts comes with even less stuff. So it's basically just like a bare body with alternative chest pieces and then a bunch of hands and no heads. It comes with faces but no heads because the heads are, you're supposed to use the ones from the cat and the dog and the wolf. But it does come with faces that, you know, you can put eye decals on, and then you can, but the problem is that since you only get a specific set of faces, you get decals for both the dog, the wolf, and the cat. So you kind of have to pick. Like you either all in on the wolf or all in on the cat, or I guess you split it up, but then that kind of creates a problem. So I do think it's good that they gave you a lot of these little decals, and it comes with eyes closed eyes, which is good because none of the expressions have their eyes closed on the dog or on the cat. I keep saying dog, it's a wolf. But I don't know, I really like the build process. I just wish that Aoshima would innovate a little bit more on their articulation and everything. It's just, here you can see like the cross compatibility between the human parts and the cat parts, which I think is pretty cool. That all of this stuff kind of works together and you can kind of interchange everything. And here they're advertising like some of their upcoming stuff, which I think is cool. And there's like a website where you can kind of try on the pieces, but alright, let's check it out. KHAO MANEE is finished, I think it looks amazing. Like you can see like the fur detail on the sculpt, so it shows like tougher fur and stuff. The hair has like little pointy bits sticking out of it, which hopefully don't break if you're not careful. The ears have like little like poof, like fuzzy fur or whatever sticking out of it. That part was super fucking hard to put on, but and then like there's a little extra tuft of hair, like fur, like on above the chest, which I think is a cool detail. And then the little parts that go on her arms, like that connect like the shoulder to the arm joints, have like a fur thing on it too, which I think is pretty neat. So there's little bits of fur detail all over, so it's not just like, you know, like a naked human or something, so it looks more like animal-like, which I think is nice. The only thing is that the tail is like completely smooth, like there's no fuzzy parts sticking out of it that kind of make it look more like fur. It's just like a smooth plastic, like curved tail piece. So I think that's a bit of a problem. I do like that the paws on the feet do have color, like it's completely pink, but I don't like that it doesn't match on the hands, which is weird, like that's kind of odd. And I do like the heterochromia that she has on her eyes, which I think is pretty cool. And obviously the eyes are movable, so you can kind of manipulate them in the way you want. And then for the Japanese wolf, I think the color scheme looks great, and I think sticks out a bit more compared to the KHAO MANEE. But I don't know, I don't like the snout that she has. It looks kind of weird. I know she's a dog or a wolf, but I don't know, the cat looks a bit cuter to me, and it looks less like Western furry and more like Japanese kimono, I guess, technically. Well, Japanese wolf, but you know what I mean. It's like, I don't know. One of them looks a little bit better, but I will say I don't like the more human-like face on the wolf compared to the cat. I don't know. Some of it looks better and some of it doesn't, but overall the body is the same on both of them. It's just that it's colored differently, and I think like the fur detail on the chest is like maybe the only thing that's really different besides the color. And obviously the tail is different, but and the hair, I guess, like face, hair, and the tail is pretty much the only main difference. And then here's the human body part. It's literally just a blank naked body, and that's pretty much all I really need to say about it. You can use it for customs, I think, or you can just buy one of those like clothing packs that they have on some of those websites where you can kind of just put it on a 1/10 scale model kit, and there you go. You have like a doll or toy or whatever that can use different like heads from like different Aoshima kits, like from the Macross ones or like any of the other kits they've made. I don't know if these can be compatible with like Megami Device or anything else, because the peg systems are different, like different shapes and everything, but I think it's cool that they have blank bodies like this, but it really doesn't have any detail at all besides like the sculpting detail. And I do like the really like creamy, like pinkish skin tone that they gave it, so it's pretty cool. But now let's take a look at some of the articulation. Okay, so the head can look up pretty well thanks to the neck, and it looks down extremely well too. Side to side is no problem at all, and since it's on a ball peg on the bottom of the neck and on the top of the head, it's all 360 motion everywhere. The arms can go up pretty high, even with that weird ass like ball hinge that they have with that really big lump. The elbows can actually bend over 90 degrees, which I think is extremely good. There's also a bicep swivel, which is nice. The ball hinge should have more range, but if you push in the joint super far, it doesn't give you too much range. And then the upper torso pops off for sometimes, which is annoying. It can't go far, it can't go in super far, which is a little annoying, but it can go back pretty far, which is cool. And then has good rotation and side to side and everything. The legs can kick more than 90 degrees if you move that other joint like underneath it, because it has a curved leg. And then there's a leg swivel, thigh swivel right there, which is great. No interruptions or stopping there. Knee bend is extremely good. The extra like animal joints can bend forward and back pretty well. You can't do any splits at all because there's no fucking range there. You can spread eagle though, like you can kind of like open the leg, but it looks gross. Like look at that, there's nothing there to kind of like hide all that ugliness. So it kind of makes doing certain poses not look good at all. You can't get them to sit though, which I think is cool. So you can use that for different poses, and of course Aoshima loves emphasizing the butts for some reason. and then the extra leg joint can tilt forward. The ankles can go back, can go forward really well. There's no toe hinges or anything because of the cat paws, but they don't balance the best. But if you can figure out how to straighten everything out, then it does work. And it's applicable to all 3 of these kits, except maybe the human one's slightly different, and then of course the tail is on a hinge and you can kind of just rotate it around. Alright, for accessories you get a mouth open smiley face, which I think looks pretty good on both of them. You get a mouth closed face. I think these are pretty nice. It looks better on the cat though. Then you get the 2 human type faces, so I think it looks better on the cat than the dog. And then you get like faces that look off slightly to the side. And then you get a bunch of like open palm hands for both of them, which I think is cool, but the paws aren't painted. Then you get like kind of curled like claw gripping hands. And then you get like fist hands, which are comically huge because of the big paws. And then you get peace sign hands, so you can kind of do an Ayago face, I guess, if you're a furry fan. And then you also get normal hands, like fist hands. You get a bunch of like gripping hands, even though there's nothing for them to grip, so I'm not really sure what you can use that for. Get creative about it. Open palm jazz hands. Again, no painted paws, which is weird. And then clawing type hands. And then of course you get some pointy like peace sign hands. Okay, so swapping out these pieces is pretty easy. So you just pull these and twist the leg joints out of the pegs, and then you carefully put in the more human-like joints in there. It's a bit of a tight fit, but it does stay in there, so you don't have to really worry about it. And then for the arms, you just kind of take it out by the forearms, by the biceps, and then you just put it back in. Same for the other one, so no problem. And then you pretty much have the same range, and if you want to swap the chest pieces out for like the alternative like flat chest, then be my guest, you can do that, but for now I'm just going to demonstrate how this works. So for the faces, you have to really grip and pull them out like from the side, or else they're not going to come out at all, which is really annoying. I fucking hate these things. But they've gotten a bit easier over time as I've messed with it. And then right here you can see the eyes have the ability to move, and the heterochromia. So you use the eye moving tool, similar to like a snail shell figure, and you can move the eyes in whatever direction you want, which I think is great and works better than a fucking Reveltech figure. So these big ass eyes can go in any direction. You can make them look off to the side. They can also accidentally pop off if you're not paying attention to what's going on. But I think it's cool. So they made up for the lack of faces by at least giving you the ability to move the eyes, so that you can still get some different angles and different expressions just from one single face, which is good. But obviously it'd be better if they had more faces. It's just, you know. And then this one, like this more smug, like mouth closed looking face, like that one's pretty nice. I like this one. So you can kind of make it look off to the side or look up and down or whatever. Plugging it back in is really easy though, and then you just plug the hair back in and then there you go. See, she's looking off to the side all smug, and I really like that. And of course, swapping it out for the more human-like face has the same level of annoyance and difficulty, just pulling out those fucking human faces and putting them on. These don't have movable eyes, they just have decals, which I think is kind of boring. I feel like all of them should have movable eyes. But the arms on the human ones are also easy to mess with, and taking out the hands is also very easy. You just kind of pop them in like normal model kits. And same on the other side. And then, let's see. Yeah, then they can bend over 90 degrees, which is good. I don't know if it's better than with the kimono arms. And then you can swap out these like giant cat hands, which I think is pretty easy. You just kind of go like this. But I want to say it's easy, but it's also very annoying because sometimes it doesn't want to fit in properly, so you have to really fight with it. And then same here at this side, you see, like it can be easy, but also very annoying. God, what am I even talking about now? Okay, for the articulation with the different parts, the arms and everything can still pretty much move the way you want them to, so there's no real issue there. Still go off to the side in full rotation. They don't really cross over at all, same with like the other ones. The bends and everything are still mostly the same. the hips have even less range due to the way that they construct them, but you can kind of make them like curve inward, which is not too common with model kits and action figures, so that's kind of a cool thing. But you can't even get this thing to sit crisscross because the legs don't spread out far enough, which I think is really freaking lame. And it applies to both of them too. And for the Japanese wolf specifically, the right leg joint on the more human type leg has the loosest connection I've ever seen for a fucking piece. Like, it just rotates all loosey-goosey and just spins around. It constantly falls off. I really don't like it. So for the Japanese wolf, I just leave it in like the more animalistic form. Whereas for the KHAO MANEE, I can kind of just switch between the two of them if I really feel like it. But the articulation is better on the animal legs, on like the more animal type legs. So I'd rather just use those instead of just, you know, the other ones. So overall, what do I think? I think these are actually a really great set of model kits, all things considered. Yeah, the articulation can be a little limited sometimes, and there's no figure stand included with them for some reason, which really sucks, because sometimes they have trouble posing and standing up straight. So you kind of have to like bend their legs a certain way due to the digitigrade type legs, but you can still get some good stuff out of them, even if it's not the most dynamic thing. But not having a figure stand really sucks because it'd be nice to have them like leaping or doing some like animal like type poses and stuff, like have a cat jumping around or playing with yarn or some shit. Like, they should have included more stuff to really emphasize the whole animal thing, but they didn't really do that. So I still think they look really good, and like for the animal legs you can actually spread them out far enough to actually have them sit down crisscross, which I think is great. Figures should be able to pose, but since the arms can't go inward, you're kind of limited on what you can do in terms of poses. You can't do like a 4-point stance, kind of like a Spider-Man or like a cat or dog or whatever, so that really sucks. But I don't know, I think I liked these things. I'm not a furry, but I think I like them. So I'm probably going to keep these things and mess around with them some more, and there's some wild poses I was trying out, and I just thought it'd be really funny to put them in this video, but I don't know, I really think they're cool. They're very inexpensive, so I actually do recommend you import them if you can. And I'm definitely looking forward to some of the newer ones that are coming out because, yeah, the body types are mostly the same, but I think this line is all about the aesthetic and kind of giving each animal its own personality, so that even if you are familiar with the joint system and know how to build it, like just without even the instructions or anything, because they're all similar, I think they can still stand out from one another just because they all have nice personalities. Like the faces and expressions are unique between each of them, and the coloring kind of makes each of them stand out. So it's not just a blatant recolor of each thing like a Marvel Legends or something. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video can come out in a quick enough manner because I've spent way too long like putting this off. But alright, that's it. See ya.